My name is Adrienne Watson, and my special topics is the underfunding of historically black colleges and universities. Working at a historically black college university has opened the eyes of this writer to witness the unequal disparities between an HBCU and a predominantly white institution, also known as a PWI. This writer has worked at both PWIs and an HBCU, and unfortunately, the stark difference begins during the onboarding and sometimes lasts all the way to the exit interview. Processes are not streamlined. A lot of systems are still manually operated and not electronic. Buildings are dilapidated and infested with mold. Infestations in the residence halls, and faculty and staff are severely underpaid. A lot of the struggles of HBCUs that they face can be traced back to its founding. Since its inception, systemic racism and white supremacy have not allowed HBCUs to receive funding which was rightfully theirs. That meant students, faculty, and staff had to make do with less, and these schools itself relied on their reserve money to make ends meet. According to Adams and Tucker, compared to their predominantly white counterparts, the nation's black land-grant universities have been underfunded by at least $12.8 billion over the last 3 decades. Many are in financial straits. States are supposed to match funding dollar for dollar with the federal government, but this rarely happens. In the case of Tennessee State University and the state of Tennessee, it was recently discovered that around $554 million was withheld from the institution. Harold Love, a state representative from Tennessee, and also a Tennessee State alum, said it represents how much money Tennessee State had to take out of its own reserves to fulfill the federal match requirements. On top of not receiving aid from the states, HBCUs are also the lowest receiving institutions in terms of endowments and alumni giving. For any business entity, there needs to be sufficient funding to thrive and sustain itself, and HBCUs are not exempt. Recently, the Biden-Harris administration gave a historic $2.7 billion in funding to HBCUs. Due to COVID-19 pandemic and the hit all higher education institutions took, this bill was a step in the right direction. Although these funds were provided due to COVID-19 and part of the relief package, this allowed for HBCUs and its students to pay off debt and continue their education. Funding for HBCUs needs to continue and needs to increase for these historic institutions to continue with its primary mission since its founding, which is to provide undergraduate and graduate level educational opportunities to people of African descent. Thank you.